we're actually going to be recording and then posting one of the lunches or one of these meetings on our website. And then for registration purposes, you always look back at the website, and if once we release the problem for the Moot Court competition, that will also be on the website. So let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. And let's start. Okay, there we go. Okay, so basically Blakely Butler is a Moot Court competition consisting of an oral argument and a writing component for 1 hour of class credit. Moot Court is appellate advocacy, so the competitors prepare appellate level arguments. What it is for those of you that have not done Moot Court before, is as opposed to mock trial, Moot Court is like a simulation of a trial at the appellate level, meaning that there's only, and in Moot Court, how we do it is you have two lawyers on each side, which is two competitors, you and a partner, versus two lawyers who argue the other side, which is will be other students that will be competing against, and a panel of judges. So there is no evidence, there is no witnesses or anything like that, and all you do is argue the law. And we'll explain a little bit more about that later. But this, just so you know, this competition is hosted independent of the Moot Court team by the Advocates Organization, and any student is welcome to participate. So you can be a 1L, 2L, 3L, it doesn't matter. We do want to say that if you are a 1L, the winners of the Moot Court of this competition last year were actually 1Ls. So if you are hesitant about trying because you're scared of going up against upperclassmen or whatever, then don't be, because 1Ls have a history of winning as well. So this competition occurs annually. It's just that the case that you argue is different, and the completion of the competition and writing components leads to 1 hour of class credit, regardless of where you place in the competition. So basically the competition structure is done by rounds. So there are preliminary rounds, quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. And if you, in order to make the quarterfinals, you have to score a certain number of points or beat out the other teams in the preliminary rounds. And you can still get the credit for the competition even if you're out in the first rounds. That is not a problem at all. The competition will take place on Thursday, September 17th, and ends on Sunday, September 20th. Now, the preliminary rounds will only be on Thursday and Friday. They start on Thursday with the check-in at 4:45, and the arguments start at 5 p.m. And they end some in the evening around 9. Now, that doesn't mean that you will be competing all the way from 5 to 9. It just means that your time slot for your argument or your team's argument will be sometime between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. The same goes for Friday. They start at 11:45, and they end for the day at 8. And it doesn't mean that you will be competing the whole day, just your time slots are going to be sometime between 12 and 7 p.m. And you will compete for 1 round on Thursday and for 2 rounds on Friday. So the preliminary rounds are 3 rounds of oral argument. So the results are emailed later that night on Friday night. And if you make it to the quarterfinals, then yay for you. And they start on Saturday morning. Saturday morning, we'll have the quarterfinals and semifinals. The quarterfinals starting at 9 a.m. with check-in at 8:45, and if you make the semifinals, you will be notified sometime around noon, and semifinals will begin at 3 p.m. And the good thing is, I don't know if this goes without saying, but since you're arguing the same case, it's not like you have to prepare a new case in 2 hours in order to make that argument. You just go up and you make the same arguments you made in the morning, but of course you can tweak it based on the judge's comments or what you say. Now, each team consists of 2 people, and each argue a separate legal issue of the case. So the case will only, or the problem that we will assign, will only have 2 issues per side. So on your team, one will argue, each argues one of the 2 issues against the other team, which also will have one person arguing one of the 2 issues. Each team will participate in at least 3 preliminary rounds and more if you make it. And each team will have 25 minutes of arguments with 2 minutes for rebuttal on petitioner's side upon request. So how the Moot Court competitions are broken down is basically you have one side, petitioner and respondent. Petitioner is the person that is appealing. So if you think about it, we pretend to be in front of the Supreme Court, I think is what we usually do, right? So whoever's appealing the decision from one of the circuit courts is called a petitioner. That team will go first. And then after that team goes for about 23 minutes, then the respondent side goes up and they do a counter argument for about 25 minutes. And then the petitioners, if you wish, which we usually recommend, will have 2 minutes of rebuttal to rebut the respondent's arguments right at the end. And the respondent only goes up during their first 25 minutes. They have to address everything during that time. So each team also switch sides against once, at least once. So you will be at least once petitioner and you'll have to argue at least once respondent side. Now, the judging, you will be judging this competition for oral advocacy skills. This means like the merits of your argument. It also means how persuasive you were in your argument, how well you know the case law, and your ability to respond to the judge's questions. Because at any time during your argument or afterwards, the judge may interrupt an individual person and ask questions, and you can get extra points by responding well, by being very convincing, and also your courtroom demeanor. Before this meant your demeanor or your professionalism in court, in person. Now it's going to be your demeanor through Zoom. And we'll get to a couple points about Zoom later on. Now, the judges are going to either be experienced students, which in my experience has been the ones that judge the preliminary rounds have usually been experienced students who have competed in various moot court competitions before. And then we try to get members of the legal community, such as other practicing lawyers that are practicing here in Houston, and actual judges to come judge the finals and the quarterfinals and semifinals. Now, in the past, we have been pretty successful of having various lawyers and judges come, and I think this year we're making good headway, and it looks like it'll be the same. And which is really good because through these judges, especially through the lawyers and the actual judges, you get a lot of good practical feedback. Just on a side note, the reason that I joined the moot court team and that I've competed in competitions before was that before law school, I'm a 3-0 now, but before law school, I knew I wanted to go into immigration law, and I went to a hearing in immigration court, and that's where, before that I had no idea, but that's where I found out the immigration court consists of a trial in immigration court usually consists of only the respondents on one side, which is like the person that's in deportation proceedings, his lawyer, the judge, and the lawyer for the government. So just to know that there was no jury, that they sometimes use witnesses, but basically the whole trial is done just you answering questions to the judge. That to me was a pretty big deal. So that's why I joined the moot court, so I can work on my oral advocacy skills with the hopes of being a better lawyer. And I know that participating in a competition like this would also help you hone in these skills and hopefully be a good lawyer in the future if you do litigation. Now, Zoom professionalism. One of the things that we give you as tips, because since you are graded on your professionalism, one of the tips that we have on this slide, for example, is you look directly into the camera when you're speaking. I try my best to do this, but it's still kind of weird since I usually look at people in the past, you would try to make eye contact with the actual judges. But now one of the tricks that I do is that I put that little bar where you can see everybody's faces if you're on speaker view. I put that bar right up at the top, and then I try to focus in on the person that is directly under the camera. That way I try to simulate eye contact the best. Then you have to use a professional background. Now we have heard from some judges that they like it when people use these Zoom backgrounds so that the background or whatever's behind you doesn't look cluttered, so it's not distracting. I've also heard from some lawyers that they don't like it and they don't recommend it because the Zoom backgrounds sometimes distort your body, and then your hands are popping in and out of places, or your head or hair gets cut off, and that can be very distracting as well. So I guess that we defer to you. I would recommend personally that you try to find a background that's pretty plain, like the one behind me that's just a wall. You find good lighting, and usually try to make it to where the camera is at the same eye level, is at your eye level. which I think mine's is not right now, but the camera's at your eye level so that you could easily look to the camera, and it creates like a more professional looking view. Now, you never talk or interrupt the judge. For the other point, you don't bang on your desk or the podiums because you get excited or you're trying to make your point across. And you show judges respect and always answer the judges whenever they ask questions or interrupt you with your honor. Like, yes, your honor. If they ask you a question, then that should be the first couple words out of your mouth. You either answer, yes, your honor, no, your honor, or if you're trying to get a little time to process a question in your mind, you say, well, your honor, and then you start explaining, and then make sure you answer their question. Now, for scheduling conflicts, since the competition does start on Thursday night and is on Friday, I understand especially some 1Ls have classes Fridays. I don't know at what time those are. I haven't heard anything about it yet. But if you do have a scheduling conflict due to a class or another important event, we as the advocates will try our best to accommodate you when they're reasonable, especially within the preliminary rounds. And we ask you just to please note these conflicts when you sign up, let us know, and we'll try our best to move some things around. You also have to coordinate with your partner, because only one of you will sign up, but the teams must be teams of 2. And failure to show up on the day of the competition with no advance warning will make you ineligible for credit and disqualify your team from receiving your course credit, you and your partner. Now, if you do not have a partner, and we ask you to make a reasonable effort to find one, but if you cannot find a partner for some reason, or then just please also let us know, and let us know you want to compete. And if there's another person in your situation, we'll try to hook you guys up so that you can compete. The actual problem, which is the case that you will argue, will be released September 9th at 6 p.m. after the registration closes. So that's a week from today. And it will be a closed research problem, meaning that the U.S. participants are limited to the cases listed on the actual problem and the cases which those cases cite. So this is actually pretty helpful, I think, because it means that you don't have to do your own independent research to argue these cases. You just focus on the case lists provided in the problem and the cases which are cited by those problems. The problem itself would look like an opinion, like the ones that you read in class. It will be, so it's going to be an opinion about a fake case. And just make sure you read the instructions carefully, that you read the opinion carefully, and you use that to draft your arguments. The problem you will argue 2 issues, one for each team member, as I discussed before, and arguing additional issues that are not part of the issues listed will not get you any extra points. So we ask you to please focus on the problem itself. Now, for the course credit, each team must participate in all the rounds that they advance through to receive the course credit. That means that if you only make it to the first round, then that's okay. You still get the credit. But if, for example, you make it to the quarterfinals and then decide not to show up, then you won't get the credit. But usually we haven't had a problem with this in the past. People have been, or at least not that I've seen, people have been very good about showing up and showing up on time. Because of Zoom, we ask you to check into the room, that you will get the links when you participate, to check into your room 15 minutes before the arguments start. That way, to make sure that everybody is there and ready to go whenever the competition needs to start. So the teams will additionally need to make a good faith effort in all rounds to achieve credit. Again, we say that. I haven't seen that be a problem as part of the competitions, as long as you make a good faith effort to prepare yourself. Some teams will be more prepared, some less, but as long as you try, that shouldn't be a problem, and you should be able to.
Hey, Sylvia, you want to do the moot court competition with me? For real? Sweet. I have a partner then.
Well, there you go. So then.
Oh, I didn't realize my microphone was on. Sorry.
Well, there you go. No, that's good. So then the writing component was one of the things I forgot to talk about. If at any time you do have questions for us, I know that I'm talking like really fast. Just please come on the microphone, just like Jameson did, is it? And then I'll try my best to answer your questions. I'll also leave some time at the end to answer questions. Okay. So the writing component is a five-page brief. It will consist of just a table of authorities on page one, issues presented, and then basically summaries of the arguments that you argue in the competition. So it shouldn't be too hard to do. And like I said, it's only 5 pages. The brief can be from either side, either from respondent or from petitioner. It must reflect a good faith effort with citations and headers and so forth. And this brief must be turned in by October 5th, 2020, tentative. I say tentative because I'm the one that put that date. We are not going to make that date earlier than the date I've given, because I think that wouldn't be fair now that we've announced it. But if for some reason we can push that back, then we will update that on the website of when the brief is due and then let you guys know. And then absolutely no late submissions will be accepted past the date once it is established. Now, registration and sign up. The sign-ups will open today at 6 p.m. on the website that I sent in the chat. If you did not see the website, then please let me know and I'll repost it. You don't need a partner to sign up, although you should make a reasonable effort to find one. So Mr. Jameson already has one and he's good to go. Now, there will be cash prizes. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. I usually start with that. There's cash prizes if you get first or second place. Okay, and the first and second place team will also be honored at the Advocates Banquet in the spring. So that's all the information that I have. I did want to let you guys know that I've also included in this PowerPoint a couple tips on how to structure a moot court argument. These are tips that we give as like general tips for moot court competitions and so forth. Some moot court best practices and making a moot court oral outline. So like one of the things I forgot to mention is that, I guess with Zoom, it doesn't really matter, but usually you're allowed, whenever we did it in person, you're allowed to bring like a little cheat sheet, an outline, and then have it there, but they usually recommend that you keep your outline to 1 page. Now, and since we're doing this over Zoom, there might be a way for you to have your outline on the screen off onto the side, and you'll be viewing the judges on the other side. However, like I was saying about the professionalism, you should try your best to make sure that you're simulating this eye contact with the judges and you're not just reading off your outline the whole time. When you notice that, then that might cause you to lose points or whatever. But that depends on the judge. And then some additional tips. And we will be including this PowerPoint along with the video from one of the sessions on our website in case you have any questions or you want to check it out. And since that is everything I have, then now I will, let me see, stop sharing the screen. Give me 1 sec, stop sharing the screen. And yeah, and now that I stopped sharing the screen and I open the floor up, if anybody has questions, Mr. or Autumn, do you have your hand raised? You want to speak?
Yes.
Hey.
Hi, I don't know if you can see me. So I'm a 1L. My understanding is I can still compete. Okay, I'm interested in immigration law as well, so I want to like get my feet wet as fast as possible. My question is, does U of H post on its website previous moot court appearances just so that I can get an understanding of what it looks like at U of H?
So I don't know if we have any recordings of previous moot court, but one of the ones that I found really helpful, moot court arguments and stuff like that, is you can look on YouTube, the Harvard moot court team. And that's some that I've seen, that I've watched just personally, that I found helpful to kind of get a structure of how you do it. And then I think on the Advocates website, there are like resources that you can use, like a lecture by one of our professors, which I'm forgetting her name at the moment, and then some like a sample outline and things like that. But if you want to like see like a visual of a sample that would be useful, I would recommend the Harvard one. Or yeah, you can look at Harvard or Yale moot court teams on YouTube. They have postings of their competitions and stuff like that. So thank you for the question. That was a good one.
Thank you.
Is there?
So I just wanted to say, so on our old website, we had Professor Simpson, her lecture and all of that stuff. We recently got our new website, the advocates at uhlc.org, or you can just Google us and it should be the first thing that pops up. We are still working on getting all that stuff transferred over because that was on the John Black Moot Court competition page. So we're working on getting that moved over. So just put a pin in that stuff for now. We will be getting that stuff over. It's just not there right now. And also, like, yes, 1Ls, like, we love for you to compete. Last year, 3 out of our 4 finalists were 1Ls, and the 2 winners were 1Ls. So if you're a 1L and you're like, oh my God, I'm so intimidated, how can I compete with all these 2Ls and 3Ls? Like, you can do it. I promise you can do it. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Thank you.
Hey, what was your name, by the way? You show up as Advocates UHLC.
Oh, sorry, y'all. So I logged in and it got intermingled and whatnot into my Zoom. So literally every class, I'm Advocates at UHLC, which is really embarrassing, and Secured Financing, because he does not allow us to change our names. And I emailed him about it and he told me tough. So, okay, I'll put my name. I'm the executive chair of the Advocates. I am Chelsea Klum. And I'm going to put my email as well. So Paul has included his email. He is a great point person for this competition. Also, I can help answer questions as well. So I'm going to put that stuff for y'all right there. Okay, so that's me. Yes.
Okay, and one of the things we forgot to mention is that, so we have limited space available for this competition. So registration opens today and then is good through a week. But sometimes in the past, registration had to have closed before the week was over because we filled up all the slots. So I recommend that if you are interested in participating, you get with your partners as soon as you can and sign up in the next couple of days just to make sure that we have a spot for you. Because once it fills up, then unfortunately, then we can accept no more participants or competitors. And yes, I have Mr. Clary. So Robert has a question, and then Zach.
Yes, when you're making your arguments, I mean, you got 25 minutes to talk. Does one of the teammates talk, or is it more like, you know, each of you talk for 12 minutes?
So the way it's done is that you can divide up the time how you wish. Usually the way, I don't think, there might be a rule on how much how much minimum time you have to be talking, but each teammate does, but you divide that up with your partner. So whenever you do the 25 minutes, some decide to do 12 and 13 or 12 and a half and 12 and a half. And then when you do the 23 minutes, I've seen teams divide it up like 11 and 12 minutes. And then the first speaker does a 2 minutes for a rebuttal. So both teammates have to talk, and I'm pretty sure there will be a minimum amount of time. Maybe it'll be something like 10 or 11 minutes, but all of that will be included in the instructions packet. And yes, I hope that answers your question. Now, Zach, can you raise your hand as well?
Yeah, geez, I just had the question. The advocates, I remember I went to the mixer the other night, and they said that for the competitions, it's like a discount if you join advocates. So A, does that count for this one? And B, what's the cost for this one individual?
So Chelsea, you want to take that one?
I can take that one. So it's a pretty significant cost difference. If you are an Advocates member, it only costs you $10 to register for competition, and that's just for you. So, you know, there'd be you plus a partner, and if you're both Advocates members, it's $20. But if you're not an Advocates member, it's $50 per person. And that counts for this competition, for all the other competitions. Even if you're not an Advocates member right now, you can still like go and join real fast and then register for the competition and get that cheap price. And that's totally fine. In order to join the Advocates, just go to our website. And again, you can Google Advocates at UHLC and it's going to pop up. And there's just like a little button that says join, and it's got a Google form and a PayPal, and it's for lifetime. So if you join now, then you are a member for all of your law school career here at UHLC. So highly recommended. I mean, you can compete whether or not you're a member, but again, that discount is a really great perk of membership. Just saying.
That is true.
Thank you.
And I think Michael.
Hey, Paul, quick question. Two, I guess. How many people do you think were in the first launch meeting? Do you think the time slots are going to fill up like within the next day or two, or we have like a couple days to think about it?
I think you might have a couple days. I wouldn't wait too long, but you might have a couple days. So in total, I think in total we've had about 15 and they did 15, 16 people. So and the teams, the time slot, we look to usually have 16 teams. Now there's a lot of people that have competed before that sign up without going to the lunches and they've done this before. But I don't think it's something that you have to immediately sign up today. But if you are interested, I would recommend doing it in the next couple of days, just to make sure you get a spot. That's really the point.
Gotcha. And then the other thing I have is you mentioned 2 issues and then you take the other side. So could one team member just focus on one issue, like, you know, and then the other team member focuses on the other?
Yeah, and that's usually how it's done. You argue, I mean, you can always choose to switch if you want, but I think usually it's easier for the participants to focus on one issue, and then you just argue both sides of the same issue. That's usually how I think we've done it before in like the Moot Court competitions and so forth too. So yeah. Those are good questions, man. Thank you. Amanda.
Yeah, just an administrative question. So if one person from each team signs us up, do you pay the fee when you sign up or when you compete? And then
you pay the fee whenever you, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You do pay the fee whenever you sign up. So it would be one person paying the fee because that's how we have the registration set up. But usually you can get with your partner. People have like Quick Pay and Venmo and stuff like that. And so you guys can split the cost.
Gotcha. So if you're both members, do you just like say, okay, we're both members and then?
Yeah, it should be on the instruction form when it's posted, and you should have an option to say that you're both members, and then there will be a link to pay through PayPal, I think, right, Chelsea? There'll be like a little PayPal link to pay the fee for the competition.
Yes, that link is going to be, and all of our registration stuff is on our news and events page on our website, by the way, in case you are looking for it. But yeah, so you click on that, and then once you pay your PayPal, then it's going to give you a confirmation number. Hang on to that because you're going to put it on the Google form whenever you sign up. And we do verify membership. So if people are like, haha, I'm just going to pay $20, that's fine, but we do check. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah. And I think, Robert, you had another question?
Yeah, sorry to be how much time do you normally have to spend on preparing this? I mean, I know it's just looking up one issue, but I'm just curious.
And that's a relative question, man. I have no idea. So on how much, I can't really think of an estimate of how much we prepared. I know that since you really only have a week from when you get the problem to the competition, that's usually enough. Everybody gets the same amount of time because the problem is released on the same day. So it does take some preparation, but I don't think we definitely don't recommend that you skip class or readings to prepare this, you know? Yeah, I can't really give you like an actual number. I don't know. I hope that helps though. It really just consists of like reading the problems, and picking one of the issues, and then reading some of the cases listed in the problem and cited by those cases to try to figure out. I think usually once you read the first couple cases, you can see which ones are the most important. And then from there, constructing your argument, you might add like comparisons to a few cases or not. So it doesn't take up the terrible amount of time, but a reasonable effort usually means that you have read some of the cases and that the judges can tell, you know, that you've prepared. And I think Chelsea actually had to go since she had class at 5:30. But I can stay a little longer to answer questions. I think, Amanda, did you have another question? Oh, no? Okay. But yeah, it is like I was saying before, I found it fun. I did it for the first time my 1L year, not this competition, but a similar one, because the advocates usually host a number of competitions during the year. There will be one moot court specifically for 1Ls, but even if you are a 1L right now, I recommend doing it, because some, even with like no experience in moot court, have won and have done pretty well. So it looks good also if you do make it to the second round, to the semifinalists. I know people put it on their resume. If you win, it's like a big thing, and then you can tell it to future employers and stuff like that. I didn't win the competition when I tried out, so there's no worry about that either. But it is fun, and I do think it's a good experience, especially if you're just starting off a law school. So yeah, does anybody else have any other questions? No? All right, well, we're good to go then. Like I said, there's my email in case you have any questions. I will try to do my best to answer them. I did get a question about competition credits already earlier today, and I didn't know the exact answer, but whenever there's something, I know that according to student handbook, you can take 4 competition credits throughout your law school career. So if you use this competition for credit, that will count as one of the 4 credits. And then yeah. So then I think that was the last thing that I wanted to say. If you think of anything else, feel free to email me, and please check out the website, and I look forward to seeing you in the competition. Amanda, sorry, you raised your hand?
Oh yeah, just, is there any reason why we wouldn't want to use this one as a credit?
No, it's all the competitions are the same. It's just like, for example, if you've done 4 competitions before, then I just wanted to let you know so that you can, make the decision whether or not you want to compete and stuff like that. I still recommend competing even if you can't use the credit, because it's a good experience. I know a lot of students that do, but that was basically, I just want to say the 4, because once you use this one, then you technically only have 3 left that you can count towards graduation, as far as I understand. Zach.
So you can only use 4 competitions towards credit, or you can only do 4 competitions throughout your U of H time?
You can do as many competitions as you want throughout your U of H time. Advocates, there's a bunch of competitions: alternative dispute resolution, moot court, mock trial. But as far as I understand from the student handbook, you can only use 4 competitions. You can only count 4 competition credits towards your graduation. So towards meeting, like, the graduation requirement. Yeah. And then I think like that basic question I can answer, but there's also, I'm going to type in his name right here. If you have more, like, I guess, complicated questions regarding the process and stuff like that well, I can explain some of that too, but if you have more questions regarding the credit and then what counts, what doesn't and stuff, Jim Lawrence is actually the director of Blakely Butler, and he is the one that approves the credit. So I think whenever you type in Jim Lawrence in your U of H email, his name should pop up, and you could feel free to ask him some things too. Well, regarding that, of course, if you have any Blakely Butler moot court competition questions, then you can talk to me. Okay, well, if that's it, you guys, thank you very much for coming. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up, and I look forward to seeing you in the competition then. All right, have a good one.